To you, Mr. Boyd.
His is the worst voice you will ever hear.
Will he offer me his teeth?
The evidence is overwhelming. Overwhelming. Compared to a great many things that are regarded as near certainties, the evidence is overwhelming. And yet, in the panoply of things, they find themselves dismissed at best, ignored and ridiculed at worst. Free call 0500 10 53 89. But I not only believe in them, but in what they have to say and to offer. And I've seen one the other night when I was taking the rubbish out. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I have had my first sighting. Have you had one yet? Do you know someone who has had a sighting? The evidence of their existence is all around us. And yet those who are brave enough to come out and make clear their beliefs and their claims are continually subjected to a barrage of sniping from the arguably well-meaning but utterly dismissive and ignorant broadsheet media. Elves. Elves! Elves! They are the business. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Elves! They've been here for centuries. There's more of them now than there have ever been. Elves, leprechauns, pixies, gnomes, dwarves, trolls, nymphs, sprites, fairies, troglodytes, munchkins, hockhausens. They are everywhere. Their existence was a copper-bottomed certainty not 100 years ago. And that was when the evidence began to firm up through Victorian classic diaries such as The Boy Who Saw True, and photographs, photographic evidence, far superior to anything that is purported to prove the existence of the Loch Ness Monster, Sasquatch, those UFOs and those aliens. We'll get on to aliens in just a second. Elves, pixies, gnomes and fairies. They are the business. They are around. But this is the question. This is the question I have for you. Are they a force for good or a force for evil? Or are they somewhere in between? A group of, let's call them people, who've simply got a darn good sense of humour. A well-developed sense of mischievousness. Free call 0500 10 53 89. And what if that turns out to be the highest thing to which we can aspire? A fine, well-developed, cute, smart, curl-lipped sense of humour. Because if that's all they do, and if that's what makes them higher than us, and they are, if they can make themselves invisible, and they can function and flourish happily in woodland glades, then perhaps our purpose in life is to develop a wry, mischievous sense of humour. Free call 0500 10 53 89. If you believe in God, you must believe in elves, because the evidence that elves exist, is stronger than the evidence that God exists. And certainly if you believe in UFOs and close encounters of whatever kind, and small, grey, humanoid, intelligent creatures visiting you in the middle of the night with a shiny wand and beckoning you to go with them, if you believe in any of that, then you have to believe in elves, for as far as we know, they are elves. Free call 0500 10 53 89. For elves are small, elves are humanoid, elves are rarely revealed. Elves are somehow unsettling but apparently relatively harmless, just like aliens. The aliens that an awful lot of people believe in. The aliens on which the X-Files, the most popular television series, which some people think is a documentary they've ever put on our screen, depends. But you won't meet one Trekkie who believes in elves. Free call 0500 10 53 89. And yet the evidence is rich and it's powerful and it's strong. right from the report in the Church Journal from the 11th century in the parish of Woolpit in England. A 2,000-word account of a meeting with two elves. Free call 0500 10 53 89, right through to the present-day historical evidence in the form of photographs. The historical reinforcement is impressive. There are witnesses. There are photographs. Jimmy Carter, James Earl Carter, the former President of the United States, claimed not only that he had seen elves, but that he talked to elves. We can dismiss the crank rumours such as that at Porton Down they have the body of an elf stored in a fridge, although again, it's impressive if you're impressed with the stories about Area 51 or the Bible. Free call 0500 10 53 89, and never forget, if you rubbish elves, you rubbish Santa. I don't know for sure whether Santa exists, but I know for sure about his little helpers. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Elves. They are the business. If you believe in aliens or the Bible, you have to believe in elves. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. We pick up a game with Where Am I at 20 past 6 this afternoon with Peter Dealey. He'll be starting the clues for a brand new mystery location when he plays Where Am I with 1-to-1. And the prize fund, of course, at 20 past 6 kicks off again at £500. Philip is our first caller to this part of the programme. Philip in West London. You're on Talk Radio. Philip, good afternoon.
Hello.
Philip.
Well, thank you very much. You've answered a long-term, perplexing thing.
Yeah.
I have a jewellery workshop, and in the course of working, by the way, a few sound effects there, whilst we're working, you sometimes drop things on the floor, and it's the small things like diamonds, rubies and sapphires and whatnot. They just fall gently to the floor. You think, oh, I'll go down and pick them up. Can you find them?
No.
Nope.
No.
You sweep the whole place up.
Yeah.
You turn out, you can take your shoes off sometimes, just in case they've fallen down in your shoes. You rip the place apart, you cannot find them. Next morning, 9 o'clock, into the workshop, and the stone is sitting there in the middle of the floor.
Yeah. Most of us who aren't lucky enough to work in the jewellery industry, Philip, will echo what you're saying about the car keys.
In that you lose them? It doesn't, in that you've put them where you always do. It's a reflex action. You don't even have to be told to do it.
Yeah.
Your hand goes in the dark.
Yes.
There they are.
Yeah.
Or there they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And what happens to them?
That's it. Who is responsible for corn circles, if not elves?
What about aliens? Do you think they have a competition? It's elves versus aliens.
Aliens are merely a manifestation of our most recent understandings, technological understandings of the universe's potential. We've had elves for 1,000 years. Little people who are up to, we're not sure, it feels like it ought to be no good, but they don't actually seem to do any harm. There aren't any aliens, there are only elves.
Could it be the Americans call them gremlins?
Gremlins?
Yes, gremlins. Hi there, I'm a gremlin.
Absolutely.
We have elves.
Absolutely. There was a marvellous book which you ought to get hold of, anybody who's interested in life, called The Boy Who Saw Truths, the diary kept by an 11-year-old, in which he revealed what he could see, and he thought that nobody talked about the things that he could see because they weren't talked about in polite society. All it was he had a gift. He could see auras in people, illnesses in people, and he could also see elves. And they used to just potter around. They preferred the foliage to the built-up city.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's marvellous, isn't it?
And you don't get corn circles in the city.
I think for the rest of your programme, some fabulous insights are going to come in from all your callers.
Well, one lives in hope. Philip, thank you for your call. Tommy calls now from Glasgow. Tommy, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Oh, Tommy.
Tommy.
Oh, Tommy.
Tommy.
Yeah, I would like to know why, when you were young and you lost a tooth and you put it under your pillow,
Yes.
who put the money under your pillow?
Quite.
You know, who did that?
Quite.
It's never been explained.
Quite.
So
Quite.
the elves, tooth fairies, they do exist.
Yes. And they're a force for good.
Yes, they are. I still believe in them because it's never been explained to me that you receive money when you lose your tooth. So I think they're a force for good.
Tommy, thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Barry is next. He calls from Middlesex. You're on Talk Radio, Barry.
Good morning, Tommy.
Morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Tommy. Elves. Elves.
Yep.
Now you're talking, mate.
Yes.
When I was at school, I used to have one as a pet, a mate.
This was an invisible friend.
Yep. And my headmaster killed him.
How?
Well, I never showed anybody my pet, my mate. And one day I started showing a few friends, and they're all looking. And the headmaster came and said, "What's going on here?" And I had him in my hand, and I said, "Well, I've got my elf here. He's a friend of mine." He said, "There's nothing there." He said, "Where is he then?" I said, "I'll show you." I said, "You hold his coat, hold his shoes, hold his trousers, and he'll jump into this paper bag." So I got his paper bag, and he jumped into it, and he said, "What a load of rubbish." Bashed the bag together, killed the elf. And I said to him, "Hold on a minute, what you do that for? You killed him. There's nothing there." I said, "Well, why are you holding his coat and clothes?"
Quite.
He said, "You need help." I said, "I don't need help, my friend needs help." It's the bag. He was squashed.
And what did they do about it, Barry? Nothing.
He just screwed out and threw it in the bin and said, "Get off your way before I give you detention."
I hope you coped with the grief.
Sorry?
I hope you coped with the grief.
I've never got over it, Tommy, because he was brilliant.
Barry, thank you for your call. Pity the line wasn't 100%, and if you were straining, let me tell you that Barry reminded us that so many of us, when we are young, have and depend on a friend. We as parents like to ridicule our children, saying, "Oh, it's her imaginary friend." But is it? Is it? Is it? Free call 0500 10 53 89. How much more imaginary is that friend than the Tooth Fairy, as Tommy in Glasgow reminded us? And the elves who are actually responsible for all the good that Father Christmas does. If you believe in God, or you believe in aliens, you must believe in elves, because the evidence supporting the case that elves exist at the bottom of your garden and in woodland glades everywhere, can you explain corn circles or fairy rings any other way, is overwhelming. Overwhelming. Doreen calls from Harrow. You're on Talk Radio. Doreen.
Hello.
Hello.
I adore fairies. I love them. I've been interested in them ever since I saw the Peter Pan statue in Kensington Gardens. And I have a figure of Peter Pan. But I also, as part of a hobby which I make money at, I sell pictures of fairies. And the public adore them. And as the first caller said, I, at this very moment, am framing all these blasted fairies. And the goblins are running around hiding my scissors, my sellotape, my everything that I use. And I do find that if I just stand there and just shout, and this sounds dotty, I know, "Goblins, bring them back, stop playing around." 5 minutes later, something I've been searching for maybe for 20 minutes arrives. And it's there. They just play games with you. And I do believe in aliens. And I do think the corn circles actually are alien. I don't think the fairies or the goblins do it. They got much better work to do than run around a field just flattening the corn into a circle.
Doreen, I'm grateful for your wisdom. Thank you. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Years ago, after reading The Boy Who Saw True, and reading that some malevolent pixie spirits can hop onto a human being from another human being and dig in and bring a sense of despair and despondency. And having felt that for about 3 weeks, the feeling came on during a radio interview I was conducting with the singer Donovan, who had a hit with the Hurdy-Gurdy Man, and I started to feel very despairing and tired during the course of this interview. And this feeling lasted for 3 weeks, and I remembered what I had read in The Boy Who Saw True, which was that one had to encourage the pixie spirit to hop off your shoulder where it was doing this harm. So I took myself for a jog in the park, although I was very tired and very lethargic and very despairing, sat on a tree stump and, telling myself that it would look like insanity to anybody else, said to the pixie spirit, "Get off me, get thee gone, leave me alone, go and annoy somebody else." I waited for a second and sprinted back home, and I've been 100% healthy and well and full of spirit ever since. I merely pass it on. It may or may not have been what happened, but it worked for me. Free call 0500 10 53 89. James calls from Plymouth. James, you're on Talk Radio. James, there you are.
Hello?
Hello.
I believe that I live with aliens. Elves, as you call them.
Yes.
I know you think I'm stupid, but I've had numerous experiences of elves.
Elves.
Yeah. One experience.
I don't believe you. I think that I think you're trying to wind me up.
No.
I do.
I'm laughing at myself.
I don't agree. I think you're laughing because you have a house full of teenagers and you think that you're pulling a fast one here on the British public.
I don't.
I do think that, and you should be ashamed of yourself because I think you don't really believe in elves.
I do, believe me.
When did you stop believing in elves?
When did I stop?
Yes.
When did I start?
You believed in elves when you were small.
No, I still believe in them now.
I don't believe you.
I do.
I don't believe. All right, then what do elves look like?
I don't believe that you can actually see them. I mean, there's several descriptions of elves that the stereotypes and they're in books. You see in books and all that. But I don't believe that you can actually see them.
Well, you're a lost soul, and I hope you find some wisdom later in life, James.
Thank you, Tommy.
Not at all. You've got to admit, it is odd, isn't it, that practically every culture, whether that culture has met other cultures or not, through medieval times, right up to the present day, they all have their own version of the elf, the gnome, the pixie, the goblin, the dwarf, the troll, the nymph, the sprite, the fairy, the leprechaun. And they're all almost identical. They're all about 20 inches high. They're all pretty much perfectly formed. They're always adults. You never hear about baby gnomes or baby elves or baby goblins. So it seems that they don't reproduce. They're quite mature, in fact, except in their behaviour, which seems to be quite mischievous. They have a bent towards causing a little bit of trouble, but nothing serious. And they wear green. Free call 0500 10 53 89. And they prefer to live in the woods, near foliage. Well, who doesn't? Free call 0500 10 53 89. There are 3 common characters in children's literature. The giant, which is a representative of your father. The witch, which is a representative of your mother. Now, if you don't believe me, then talk to any psychiatrist. And that is why they are powerful and ever-present in children's literature. Because the 2 things that are powerful and ever-present in a child's life is his father and his mother, whether they're there or not. But the only other ever-present in children's literature and mythology everywhere is the gnome, the pixie, the dwarf, the troll, the sprite, the fairy, the troglodyte, the gremlin, the leprechaun. But nobody's ever bothered to sit down and work out why. So perhaps there isn't a why. Perhaps they're real. Gemma calls from Rutland. Gemma, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hi, me and my friend really love your show.
Thank you.
And we were just wondering, why do you actually believe in elves, and what did you actually see?
Well, I'm not sure I believe in elves, but I know I've got more reason to believe in elves than the Bible.
But what did you actually see when you saw one?
I saw something out of the corner of my eye dart into the shed.
All right, it wasn't a mouse or anything then?
Well, it was bigger than a mouse. I don't know what it was. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I knew it was bigger than a mouse.
All right, so me and my friends think you're a bit crackers.
Well, do you believe in aliens?
Not really.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
Sort of.
Okay. And are either of those 3 sets of belief enough to call you crackers?
Well, I suppose.
Most days?
Yeah, well, it's your own view, isn't it? So. But I've got no proof that any of them exist. So.
No. But you believe in ghosts?
Yeah.
And you might believe in God, you haven't made your mind up yet?
No, not really.
No. But elves is ridiculous?
Yeah.
Okay, why is that then?
I don't know, it's probably just because we've never seen one, or...
Okay.
They just seem too much fairy tales.
So you believe in something quite strongly, but you don't know why?
Yeah.
That's fair, dude. How old are you?
14.
Thanks for your call.
Okay, thanks.
And as they say in the film, keep watching the skies. Robert's next in Essex. Robert, you're on Talk Radio.
Hi.
Watcher.
I think the person before was saying about God and things like that. well, God isn't really, I don't see God as a man in a robe or a woman in robes, you know, how they're usually seen. People imagine them to be. I believe that these gods are really aliens from years and years and years ago. There is so much proof, so much more than someone would really get from the Bible.
I think there's more proof that there are pixies.
And that too. I would say that.
So you do believe in elves?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, elves, fairies, they're all to do with nature.
What is their purpose?
Purpose, I don't know. There may be a message. I don't know. I see them. I don't see them, but you go into the woods. You walk around. I think the woods, the world itself, is magic in itself anyway. So I believe in all that sort of thing. And why be ignorant about things like that? I mean, if I'm here, then so can that. Simple.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
If you find out, will you let us all know?
I'm going to the woods now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to meet my friend Paddy Ging, that actually talks from the tree. Never seen him, but he said one day he's gonna let me see him, and he's gonna shrink me down to the size of 1 inch, and let me have a look at his nice wooden house.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And I hope you're home in time for tea.
I shall be.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. Peter calls from Chingford.
Oh,
You're on
hello
Talk
there.
Radio. Hello, Peter.
I was reminded a few years ago, and it suddenly came back to me, that I had an imaginary friend called, as in Budgie, but Bidgie.
Bidgie.
Yeah, it's the best way to, because when you actually write it down, it doesn't look very nice. But it's not really one of those things you can sort of say to yourself, well, he was actually there, 100%, like a brother or a sister, because I didn't have any at the time. But because I didn't know anything else, I didn't think it was unusual that someone was sitting on the end of my bed at night.
No.
And all I remember is he was always smaller than me.
Yeah.
And I'm open to, fairies and all the other little friends, mischievous friends. And I think there's probably a bit of that in all of us.
Some of the things that we believe, are far more bonkers than elves. Let's take any Premiership football manager, right? They believe, every single one of them believes in something more ridiculous than pixies. Do you know what that is?
The football team?
No. Although in the case of Southampton, yes. Shall I tell you what it is?
Well, it's a mascot, isn't it?
It is that if they wore a certain pair of socks and their team wins, they're all like this, every single one of them. They must wear those socks to every match.
Yeah,
and this doesn't just apply to football managers. This applies to prime ministers, school teachers, scientists, everyone. You've got a superstition, probably, haven't you, Peter? You think that you ought to do X, otherwise Y, which you like, won't happen, don't you?
I think there is a bit of that in all of us, really. But I'm too busy at the moment to, have any room for superstition. Because all I'm thinking about, as long as I do my job correctly, that's all I can think about.
I'm grateful for your call, and we'll take time out from this pursuit of truth to remind you that, dear, they are the business, and they exist. At least there's more evidence to prove that they exist than God and aliens put together. David calls from St Albans. You're on Talk Radio. David.
Hi there, Tommy.
How do?
Hi there. Now, I've spoken to you before about this, and the previous occasions you've poo-pooed me and called me crazy.
Loony.
A
half-wit.
Well, I don't know about half-wit.
I don't remember the call, but I'm just getting ready for what's going to come. Okay, carry on.
Well, now you're talking about the possibility of goblins and pixies and things.
Yes.
And my theory is that they are spirit entities, for want of a better word, because we can't really know exactly what they are. But they can manifest themselves in different ways at different times. Obviously, the fairies were very popular at one time, and a lot of people claim to have seen them, otherwise they couldn't have had descriptions. Not many people see them these days, but they see aliens instead, because that's the sort of modern form of the phenomena.
Right.
And so they can appear in any form that they want to, and as far as I can see it, their purpose is to annoy people and have fun at people's expense. And this is what they get up to.
One of the great things about being a human being is that you can make up just about any old belief system you want, and the more ridiculous it is, the more difficult it is for anybody to disprove it.
Yeah, but it has got quite a lot going for it, I think.
Well, I'm talking really more about our belief structures at the moment.
Yeah.
Which actually is really what we're discussing here today.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
If you want, what do you want? You want sort of proof of someone's beliefs, do you? The only thing is you can sort of gradually build up anecdotal evidence, stories from people, and it begins to piece together.
James calls from Belfast. James, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
James.
Tommy, I think you're talking a complete load of rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in the elves or pixies or goblins or anything like that at all.
Do you believe in ludicrous belief systems?
No.
No?
No.
But they do exist?
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
They don't.
How about God?
Yeah, God exists.
Okay. But elves don't?
No.
And you believe that God exists, but you don't believe in elves because?
Because they're too stolen fairy tale books and everything.
Could you say that again?
There are fairy tales and everything. Fairy tales aren't true, like they're just fictional books.
Okay, and the Bible isn't full of fairy tales?
Nope.
No.
It isn't.
And we know that because?
Because it's the truth.
And we know it's the truth because?
Because it's just what we believe in.
Because it's what we believe in?
Yes.
But you don't believe that people cling to ridiculous belief systems out of hope alone?
No.
No, of course not. You wouldn't believe that, would you?
Nope.
Because you've got no evidence to believe that at all?
No.
Not even this conversation?
No.
Thank you, James, in Belfast. Jenny calls from Preston. You're on Talk Radio. Jenny, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I don't believe in elves and fairies, although I think they're a wonderful, wonderful concept. I do believe in God because prayers are answered. But I did read something years
Prayers
ago.
aren't answered. Prayers aren't answered. If prayers were answered, there wouldn't be a living soul left on this planet.
Oh, silly
Because for every lovely, happy, hopeful, caring, generous prayer, there are 100 prayers that someone will end in flames, and they don't.
Tell me about it, but
Exactly.
prayers do work.
No, they don't work. Otherwise, we would all be in flames.
No, what
Yes.
I phoned to tell you is to tell you what
No, but
I
wait,
believe.
that's true, isn't it? I mean, generally speaking, as a species, we spend more time condemning people with our hopes and thoughts than celebrating
I'm not
them.
condemning anybody. I phoned up to tell you.
No, I'm talking about humanity here, not Jenny in Preston.
No, there was an article I read in a book a few years ago that I thought you might like to hear
I
about.
bet I won't.
Oh, you will. It's so sweet.
Oh, I definitely won't.
It doesn't have anything to do with Bible, God, religion, or anything else. It has to do with your elves and fairies.
It has to do with you bringing prayer into the whole business.
I'm not.
You think that prayers are just where people go, God bless Mummy and Daddy, don't you?
No, I don't. Oh, please let me tell you about this story I read. You'll love it.
Don't chuck a pebble in the pond if you don't want ripples.
I'm not afraid of ripples, even if I did do that, which I didn't do. I just wanted... I thought, because I like you, that I should share this article that I read. Because it's beautiful and you'll like it. Can I tell you, please?
No. And the reason you can't is I'm not interested in passing... I don't want poetry on the programme, and I don't want people reading out other people's articles. If the author of the article cares to come to the phone...
Any knowledge at all if we don't get it through either reading or seeing or hearing or whatever? How is it passed on through the decades, through the millennia?
Well, why don't you... If the author of that article felt that the best way of disseminating that information was to phone a phone-in programme, then they would have done so, wouldn't they?
It was years ago. It was before talk radio was even thought of.
Yes.
Oh, but it's so lovely.
No.
Your lady on the telephone thought it was.
No, she didn't.
Yes,
She's
she
looking
did,
at me now.
otherwise
She's
it
putting two fingers down her throat at the moment. What does that mean?
No, she's
She
not.
is.
It's your vivid imagination, which I love you for, but please let me tell you about this.
No, don't read some long thing. Just tell us what the gist.
It's not reading it to you. It's just what I remember.
Well, why don't you just get on with it? Why are you asking permission?
Because you've been preventing me.
No, I'm not. Just get on with it.
I'm going to start. Please listen. You'll like it. Somewhere in the English countryside, this book said, people found tiny little set of clothes in the description that you gave, with tiny little sets of tools to go with, and the clothes looked as though they'd been worn and just taken off at the end of the day's work.
I'm feeling very, very, very heavy-headed.
Tools looked used. Pardon?
I'm feeling very lethargic.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help that. That's what I read, and I thought it was so sweet, even though I don't believe in such things.
Well, crack on. What's the point of this?
The point of this is that somebody else believes the same thing you believe and put this thing in an article to be published in a book of the weird.
Right, and so now what have we got?
We've got an article from the Book of the Weird that somebody said they found tiny little goblin or elf clothes with little tools to show that people had been working, doing whatever goblins or elves work at.
The word weird is quite interesting.
It is, isn't it?
But I'm not going to tell you where it comes from.
Oh, I like words. Please
Because
share.
I already know, and it would bore me, therefore, to hear it again.
What have you got against me? What have I done to you?
No, you don't have to have done anything for me to have something against you, Jenny. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I just used to enjoy it more when I went to the zoo if the lion was prowling around, and if that meant you had to sort of click on the chicken wire that prevented you getting to his cage, then I suppose I would do that. Does that make me a bad person? Rona calls from Glasgow. Rona, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tommy.
Rona.
Hi. Yeah, elves, they definitely exist. And
Right.
one was in my garden yesterday.
Oh, really?
I found some blood about 1.5 feet up the patio doors. Well, actually, my mum found it. And there was blood all dripping down all over the patio. And we thought, well, where's this blood come from? It must come from, like, either the dogs or I've got 2 cats. And I went and examined the dog. There was no blood. And I found the cats. There was no blood. And when I was listening, we thought, oh, God, don't know where this has come from. When I was listening to your show, I thought, elves. It must have walked into the patio door, banged its head, blood dripping down, ran off.
Either that or you've been reading too many Stephen Kings.
No, I didn't read Stephen King.
Thanks for your call, Rona.
Cheers.
Nice one.
Bye.
Julian gets the last word on this, for today at least. Julian, elves, aren't they the business?
Good afternoon, Tommy. Long time no speak. How are you?
I'm still well, thank you.
Yeah. What I can't understand is people will believe in God or a book, and there's no great deal proof, so why not believe in elves or pixies?
Absolutely.
It's just everybody harps on about that book of rules or whatever. I mean, you got Grimm's fairy tales, so why not? You must have modern fairy tales.
Well, on the train home, I'm going to start wondering why it is that we don't simply, all of us, every single one of us, exploit our right to make up our own belief systems.
Well, I as I've said before, I've told you I went to a boarding school in Prees, and how do we know that book was made up? You know, somebody's sitting around thinking, oh, let's just make a storybook. You know?
We're told, I think, by the time we get to 11, we're told, okay, God, yes, Santa, no. Aliens, possibly. Ghosts, possibly. Elves and pixies, no. Tooth Fairy, we made that up to help you get through having a mouthful of blood. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We may return to this topic. But in the next section of the programme, courtesy of DHL, we turn to a pressing transport issue. And after resisting, well, for years, probably like you, we're throwing in the towel at home. We're getting a 4x4.
Doorstep to doorstep delivery across the globe. DHL Worldwide Express.
We've resisted for a long time. We've always liked the look of them. We've always liked the swank of them. But we always said, no, they are for Wallies. But Jane and I, we're finally throwing in the towel. We're getting a 4x4. They're fantastic. We love the height, we love the pomp, we love the potential, because if we want to, we can go through a field of wheat, and we can ford a stream, we can go up a mountain almost vertically. Fantastic. But, and there is a big but, it's a huge but, and we really don't know how to reconcile this one at all. because the chap who's selling it to us has already fitted onto it and they're legal, although you don't get them fitted any longer, and we're not quite sure what to do about it because it will cause an argument in our house and when people come round, because they will make a remark. Should we buy the bull bars? Free call 0500 1053 89. This is a furore that's come from nowhere, and I can't help but think that it doesn't amount to a row of beans, but nevertheless it is a furore. Bull bars are allegedly very dangerous on a car, and for the life of me I can't see it. I can't see the argument. I think the danger in bull bars on 4x4s is entirely symbolic, because we know that somewhere in the world they are used to give gnu's a nudge if they've strayed onto the dirt road. But that doesn't happen in Malden, does it? Or Aberystwyth. Free call 0500 1053 89. We're throwing in the towel. We're getting ourselves a 4x4. We'll be able to sit there high above the traffic looking down on all those little roofs. The pomp of the thing. The heavy implication that we are ready to go on safari if that's what we feel like. Hey, 4x4s must be good. It is now the chosen vehicle of the criminal fraternity. But whether we should get the bull bars or not, because it does seem to me that if you are hit by a car, the damage that's going to be done by the front of that car to your person, by the radiator grille, or the bumper, which is no different from a bull bar in theory, or the headlamps, which are sharp and made of glass, is going to be just as great, if not greater, than the damage which is done by a bull bar. So although I can see that some people feel that the symbol of the bull bar on the front of a 4x4 is in some way vulgar or obscene, I find it difficult to understand why they should represent a greater danger than the front of a car already does. Free call 0500 1053 89. We're getting a 4x4. But do we bin the bull bars? I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
DHL, the world's #1 international express courier.
To celebrate 1-to-1's new special edition free national call tariffs, we're giving you the chance to win hundreds of pounds by playing Where Am I? With 1-to-1 all day, every day on Talk Radio. Keep listening for clues as to the whereabouts of our 1-to-1 caller who's somewhere in Great Britain. All you have to do is call in and guess correctly where in Britain they're making their 1-to-1 free national call from, and the money's yours. If you're wrong, the clues continue and the cash goes up and up and up. So listen up, and every day you could win £500, £600, £700, £800, £900, £1,000. Play Where Am I again from 5 with Peter Dealey on Talk Radio with 1-to-1, the national network for free national calls.
Spider and the Flies with Get Down Now. Why the title, Spider?
Well, you've got to, haven't you? Get down to your Renault dealer now. 0% finance up to 3 years, and the McGann Elise ends this week.
Right.
And that goes for all the other great Renault Freeways finance offers across the McGann range too.
A hairy thought, Spider. So, once more, let's get down now.
All Renault Freeways finance offers available subject to status. For written details, ask your nearest Renault dealer or call 0800 52 51 50.
0% finance up to 3 years on the McGann Elise ends this week. Another big hit from Renault.
This is the underlay that went down first, that was the bed for the boarding. It was fixed and glued. It was edged with quadrant. It all came from Wicks, all at low prices. That neatly finished the standard laminated oak effect flooring that I laid.
Wicks, do yourself proud.
DHL Worldwide Express, the world's #1 international express courier.
Because if bull bars are so bad, then why don't they fit airbags to the front of people's cars? You see my thinking? Alan calls from Berkhamsted. Alan, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Tommy, you're going to buy the biggest, posiest car on the road, more than any other car there is, any Ferrari, any sports car, whatever.
I am.
You'll end up going down to Sainsbury's in it or something like that.
I will.
They're a complete waste of time.
Well, as long as they make you envious.
Well, it doesn't make me envious. It makes me annoyed more than anything. Cause,
excellent.
That's how people use them.
Yes, that's right.
Bull bars has got to be a danger. It's got to be more dangerous than a headlight, surely.
Explain.
I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be
they wouldn't have been banned, would they?
Oh, right, it
They've
must
done
be...
so much damage in accidents.
You remind me of my mother-in-law who says it must be safe, otherwise they wouldn't sell it in the shops.
Don't compare with your mother-in-law to me.
Well, don't sound like her then. They must be dangerous, otherwise people wouldn't be saying it.
Pardon?
You're saying that bull bars must be dangerous, otherwise people wouldn't be saying so.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just the evidence that they've been taken off the road because they've proved to be dangerous.
Don't use that word evidence lightly in my presence, Cocker. What evidence?
The governmental evidence.
The governmental evidence. In other words, you have none. You have seen none, but you like to believe that bull bars are bad, and this is fundamentally the way that modern saloon-driving man gets his own back on 4x4 driving man by making him take...
the fact you're actually buying a 4x4 anyway, not so much the bull bars.
Yeah, just jealous. Robin calls from Glasgow. Robin, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. I think it's champion you're buying a 4x4, mate. I'm very envious. However, the bull bars, I used to live in Australia, mate. Over there they're called roo bars, and they're banned from inner cities. You're not allowed to have cars with them on in cities. The reason is that the bars are designed to destroy a kangaroo's body in some way so that it doesn't wreck your car. So the same thing would apply if you hit a pedestrian. The bars would actually cause a hell of a lot of damage, and especially if it's a kid. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute you're ever going to hit a kid, but I just think it's a bit of flash that you don't need, mate.
Well, I've got to tell you, Robin, that although I haven't been to Australia, from what I've seen of Skippy, kangaroos are bigger than children.
Yeah.
So the damage that would be done to a child by a bull bar would not be the same as the damage done to a kangaroo.
No, well, what I mean is that the bars are specifically designed to disperse the kangaroo's body in such a way that it wouldn't damage the front part of your engine.
Right, what about the bumper on a car, which is down at child height?
Yeah, but are they not made of a special type of metal that crumples on impact?
They are indeed not made of a special kind of metal that crumples on impact if you're a child.
Yeah, but...
So why don't we ban bumpers then?
Well, why don't we have some kind of a system where they are made of a special metal that crumples on impact?
Have you got a bumper on your car?
I don't have a car, mate.
But what are you doing on this show?
Suggesting a point of view.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. I didn't know there was anybody aged 28 in Glasgow called Robin who wouldn't own a car. This is Street Beat Symphony with DHL Worldwide Express, and Darren calls from Stafford. You're on Talk Radio, Darren. Good afternoon.
How you doing? I think bull bars are very dangerous. They're just a make-up feature on vehicles, and I think they're a vicious and aggressive thing.
In practice or...
Say again, sorry.
In practice or in the small of your mind?
Well, no, I mean, like people saying they're going down the supermarket. If you're going towards a Pelican Crossing, I've actually been a victim of this. Walking across the Pelican Crossing, you've got people there, especially gypsies, going towards you, like edging towards you because they've got these big aggressive bull bars in the front.
Thank you for your call. This is a simple one. I can't see why being hit by a bull bar is going to cause you considerably more damage than being hit by the front of a car. A bull bar at 30 miles an hour is not going to be pleasant. The front of any car at 30 miles an hour is going to be just as unpleasant. I can think of some very expensive cars which have some little metal models of animals and fairy sprites attached to the front of them, and another car which comes from abroad which has something that looked like a gun sight attached to its radiator. They're probably made more of plastic than of gilt metal nowadays, but the fact remains, if you were hit by one at 30 or 40 miles an hour, it's going to require an additional operation when you get to hospital to have that removed. So if that's not dangerous, and nobody says it is, why bull bars? Why bull bars? Because everybody wishes they had a 4x4, and if they can't get a 4x4, they're going to cause trouble for people who've got 4x4s. Philip calls from Exeter. You're on Talk Radio. Philip, hello.
How you doing?
Philip, I'm well, thank you.
Excellent. Bull bars. Calling from Devon, obviously it's a very farming-intensive area, so there's lots of farmers around with their Shoguns and Land Rovers and whatever. I can see a practical use for them. However, at the end of the day, I don't think it's really going to have a great deal of... It's not going to make a lot of difference, because, I mean, one of these vehicles, what do they weigh? 1.5 tons? 2 tons?
Hopefully.
Yeah? Whether you're doing... Let's assume that you're doing 30 miles an hour. Whether you're hit by a vehicle that weighs 2 tons doing 30 miles an hour, it's going to do exactly the same damage whether you've got a bull bar or not. You're out of it.
This is how it seems to me.
fairly logical, I would say. Therefore, I suppose if you're using it for a practical use, maybe you're working on a farm or in a rural area, fine. But I can't see a fuss being made in residential. If you like it, have it. What the hell?
Philip, thank you for your call. Mike is on the line from Reading. You're on Talk Radio. Mike.
Hello, Tom.
Hi.
About these bull bars, I think that the driver is essentially a far better driver and better people. My brother-in-law has one, and he regularly visits Tesco's and Safeways, etc. I was thinking about putting a couple of RSJs on my Sierra.
Better cars for better people.
Cool. Yeah, but I don't know if you're going to go up to that height when you get yours.
Did you see Monica Lewinsky trying to get into one?
Monica Lewinsky? Oh, no.
Did you not see this?
No.
Oh, this was funny. She was being taken off to court to see, what's his name? Freddie Starr, the investigating lawyer into the Bill Clinton business. And it was a four-wheel drive that was going to take her there. And she was wearing a short skirt. She couldn't get in. She eventually had to go in backwards, hoik her big bottom onto the seat like that. Whoop,
I haven't seen that. Was it in the sun?
It was all over, actually. I think it was even in Hello.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.